Welcome into another preview episode of Banditland Boulevard. Trevor Howard, we got Tony LaMonica, and we got Jake Howard. We got the three tandem here today.
Mhm.
On this, this is way better now that we have this kind of like orangish background because we were rocking some crap like some blue beforehand. But hey, if you're watching us on YouTube, we got the appropriate colors now, so don't even worry about it. Bandits at the Seals tomorrow night at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Bandits After Dark in the 619. We just lost to these guys. It's time for redemption.
Yeah, it's time for redemption. This is where the Bandits really. This is when they show up. When the lights shine bright, when they're pissed off, they're ready to go. So expect some big redemptions from the boys in orange and black tomorrow night.
Yeah, especially with now that we got to look back at what we just experienced, and we cannot keep that intensity that we have at the fourth quarter at the end. We have got to keep the gas pedal down, especially when you have a 2 goal lead. Like you said, it's a game of runs. So we're gonna break this down on this episode about what they're gonna have to do to beat the Seals this Saturday.
Yeah, it was close the whole way, maybe outside of the first quarter. The Bandits, they've proven over the years they can handle this team no matter,
Hmm.
I know San Diego plays them extremely well. They always have, but you want to get off to a better start. And I think if we just want to jump into our keys to the game right away,
Sure.
better starts, fellas, because 5-0 in the first game last Friday night and then 4-0 on Saturday. Like, we can't have this first quarter where we're really chasing from behind the whole time. They came back. Listen, they came back in both games. We're not taking anything away from them with that. But you put yourself in a hole early. You're playing catch up the rest of the way. You're tiring your guys out. Some of your players aren't scoring. They're making stupid decisions with the ball. You want to have better starts, and you want to start quick against this team because they know that if they can beat you once,
Hmm.
they can definitely beat you again.
Yeah, for sure. And that goes into one of my keys of the game, and that is to be or that's to have our defense step up and have goaltending be top notch on Saturday because we know that still Ryan Benesh and Trevor Baptiste they still will be out of action, but you know who's going to be out of action this week or tomorrow night is Dylan Robinson. So
Saw
we're gonna
that.
have to have our entire defense step up. We need Matt Vince to step up tomorrow as well because San Diego has phenomenal offensive weapons, including Rob Hellier, Zach Courier. I think I'm forgetting one.
Westberg,
Westberg. Yeah, how could I forget Westberg?
5 goals against us last game.
Yep, that's a solid three right there. Hellier, Westberg, and who did I just say? I said Hellier,
Courier,
Westberg, and Zach Courier. Yeah, those are three very tough guys to defend, especially with both Matt Spanger out. I know we had him out for the majority of last season as well, but we're kind of banged up a little bit right now. Dylan Robinson is now out, so now we need our defense as a whole to come together as one, really step up for a solid 60 minutes against this phenomenal San Diego offense, and we need Matt Vince to start sipping from the fountain of youth very quickly because this month has been a little bit shaky. And even though we've seen San Diego last week, it's not going to be an easy matchup. So we need defense to be lights out for 60 minutes. We need Matt Vince to show us who he truly is, the Matt Vince that we know and love. We need a full 60 minutes from him as well. So sound defensively and solid goaltending as well.
And of course, we always preach this on every episode: stay out of the box. We
God,
cannot
so
afford
frustrating.
dumb
Yep.
penalties, and even though it may seem retaliation, you got to kind of bite your lip. You can't chirp at the refs because no matter what, it's always Buffalo versus everybody. So basically, guys, go in there, play humbled, but also go in there and play pissed because after what happened last week, you have got to bring a bigger and faster atmosphere into the Seals arena. So you got to step up big time. And of course, like you said before, Trevor, is with these slow starts, we have got to kind of pace ourselves, maybe like 2, 3 goals per quarter, which should seal the deal. But again, you have got to set the tone, starting with Connor Farrell in the faceoff dot.
Right. Go down 1-0, no big deal. 2-0's not even a huge deal. But when you're not scoring and you're giving up 5 or 4 goals or whatever it was last week against San Diego, you put yourself in a bad spot because nothing on the team is clicking. The offense can't
Yeah.
score, defense is struggling, defense is banged up, and the goalie, like Jake said, goalie's having a tough month. And this is the typical Matt Vince way. He as soon as the calendar switches to February, Matt Vince looks very, very beatable. And we've been seeing that over the past few seasons. And then once the calendar switches from about March to maybe April, that's when he turns into lockdown Vince again. So just going to have to ride out the storm in this. I mean, you're going to go through peaks and valleys in a season. And this season is still very much a peak right now. We're not really seeing any sort of valley just yet. But yeah, my other key, and Tony, you nailed it when you said stay out of the box. Do you know how many times? So I was on a Zoom call with we had some event that we do. Me and my group of friends, we were on like a Discord call during the game.
Okay.
The amount of times I was like muting my mic and like kicking the freaking couch in front of me because I saw, we took another penalty. Yeah, guys, you're setting yourself up for failure when you're taking dumb penalties. And I think Tony also said it. Retaliation. Shut your mouth. Go to the bench, because the refs, they're never going to call they're never going to call what should be called. They're going to tag you every time for the retaliator. And it's as much BS as it is. It's just the way that the NLL is right now. You just shut your mouth, go to the bench, beat them on the scoreboard. Because the amount of penalties they took last Friday and Saturday, I was getting frustrated as a fan. I couldn't even imagine like what Johnny T was feeling behind the bench.
Yeah, absolutely. Just let the scoring do the talking. San Diego, anybody can talk all that they want to the Bandits, but you know what? Be a lot easier if you just shut your mouth and don't worry about getting any other retaliation penalties. Just let your play on the field do the talking. Okay, we're already banged up as it is right now, especially on the defensive side of the ball. We cannot afford to be taking more penalties than we should and bring our penalty kill out, because I'm sure Spanger and Robinson are key parts of our penalty kill. Now look at those two guys. Spanger's out for the season. Robinson is out for God knows how long. So
it'd
be much easier for us to be much better off. We'd be better off in the long run, keeping our mouths shut. As much as everybody on San Diego wants to try to get under our skin, keep your mouth shut. Let your play on the field do the talking. You'll be much better off. You should come out with a win as long as you do that.
Also, we got to make sure that the defense protects Vince at all times. Put yourself in playoff mode right now against these guys and for teams to come later in the season. Because what you're going to have to do is now, after you've been exploited and you got your first loss and everyone's seeing it, there's a crack in the window. There's a crack in the wall.
Yep.
We're going to try to exploit that and make it bigger so we can finally destruct the Bandits. And it's not going to be the case. The case is basically simple. If you want your defense and goaltending to get back on track, the communication's got to be big there, right there and then. You have got to make sure you're all on the same page. How to contain their high, strong offense and what to do when the time is needed to protect Vince at all times, especially when shots he cannot stop. That means you have to be like a Jay McKee in hockey. You got to block every shot possible known to man. So, and I'm not saying that they should do it now, but in playoff mode, you block every shot possible, no matter what.
Body on the line. Yep, exactly. And Jay McKee. That was a great pull from you, Tony. I was also thinking Jason Woolley. Yeah, Jason Woolley.
Woolley did the same thing.
Yep, exactly the same thing. You know what? Sacrifice the body a little bit. Paul Dawson does it every single week, and that dude's 41, 42 years old.
Every game.
So like, no excuses on that front. He's blocking shots in week 3 of the season. And it's like really, like, that you're going to be walking around all next week with bruises up and down your leg. Is that going to be really worth it? He's like, no, dude, I want to win. Like, that's pretty much all it is. He puts his body on the line. So your main keys of the game: score first. I think that shouldn't be too hard for the amount of stacked offensive players we have on this team. And also, be like Dwayne Johnson, know your damn role and shut your damn mouth. Go back to the bench and don't take a stupid penalty. And just lock it down defensively, because you got to help out your goaltender. We talked about how Matt Vince was struggling last week. After watching some of the highlights again, the defense didn't do him any favors. That was a horrible defensive performance again on Saturday, and it was pretty bad throughout most of the performance on Friday against the Toronto Rock. Defense has to be a lot better going into this week, and they're just playing one game this week. They're not doing this back-to-back stuff. So there really should be no excuse. There really should be no excuse going into this one. It's a 7:00 game their time, so the time difference is still the same. as far as they start 7 o'clock here, they're going to start 7 o'clock there. They're undefeated against this team in this building. Now, previously, they were also undefeated against the Seals in the KeyBank Center, too. And, the Seals got a victory. But, yeah, I think those are some pretty good keys to the game. I think as far as players to watch going into this week, Jake already kind of named a bunch of them. Zach Currier, Origlieri, their goaltender's very good.
Sure.
Wes Berg, who absolutely tore. I think that should be a key to the game too. Limit Wes Berg, maybe ? That also kind of goes hand in hand with my whole defensive comment too.
Mm-hmm.
If Wes Berg doesn't score 5 in that game, the Bandits win. Like, seriously, we're not talking about shutting him down, but if he scores 3 instead of 5, you're looking at an 8-0 Bandits team rather than a 7-1 Bandits team. You're not going to hold him to nothing. Limit him to 1. Limit him to 2. He's like the Zed Williams of the San Diego Seals. If you limit him and keep him under 3 goals, you're going to beat the Mammoth. In this case, you're going to beat the Seals. Yep. My players to watch for the Bandits, because we already know who we're going to watch for the Seals. I got to see a revenge week from TN1. Tehoka Nanticoke needs to score, needs to go back on the score sheet. I don't know if he's ailing something. I don't know if he's injured or what the case is, but I need to see a revenge type of game. We need to see a Game 3 of the 2023 Finals performance from Tehoka Nanticoke. We need to see 2022 Nanticoke in the building, runner-up for Rookie of the Year. He's long overdue for a huge night.
This one's going to be a little bit – I agree with you 100%. Definitely need to see a rebound effort from Tehoka tomorrow. I have 2 Bandits to watch. So we are out of Dylan Robinson and Matt Spanger. So I'm going to go with a couple young guys. Let's take a look at Cam Wires and Zach Belter. So now the spotlight is going to be on these guys for sure, because obviously you have your Priolos, you have your Steve Priolo, right? You have your Paul Dawson,
captain of the team, Steve Priolo.
You have your Justin Martin, who established himself in the 2023 Finals against the Colorado Mammoth, did a phenomenal job against Zed Williams. We know how great Cam Wires has grown into in year 2 of his career. Same thing goes for Belter. Belter had a great year last year. Now, with Robinson and Spanger out, these 2, the spotlight's going to be on these 2 as well to step up along with the 3 other vets that are healthy on that defense. So let's see how Wires and Belter do tomorrow night. If they step up and have a great defensive game, should be a very should be a very not low scoring, but it should be not double. It should be not as high as it was for San Diego as far as scoring goes. As far the way it was last week. So definitely looking at Wires and Belter for tomorrow night for sure.
I think Tony mentioned it last week. Wires, that goal where he could have just scooped up the ball with 2 hands.
Mm-hmm.
Like Cam Wires, we need to see a better performance out of him. But yeah, Tony, go ahead.
Okay. Basically, how the last few games, it's all been about the secondary scoring. That's got to still maintain its course, because you cannot keep the weight, all the pressure on Dane Smith, Josh Byrne, Chris Cloutier all the time. So with, like you mentioned, Tehoka Nanticoke's got to wake up, which is true. He has to draw more penalties because he has that ability to have the great hand-eye coordination like he does, and to make sure that we're better off on the special teams, which will be beneficial for this team. But also, you got to work harder than the rest of them to get to the loose balls in that. So with Kyle Buchanan and with Chase Fraser, those guys have to have equal points or possibly 3 goals themselves each. So if the secondary scoring does their part, Dane Smith and Josh will have that little bit of pressure off their shoulders. And I'm not saying they don't have it on their shoulders, but again, a little less weight makes you a little bit faster. So basically that's what they got to have to do for the stars of our team. And I'm not saying not anybody's on a star of the team, but when you got the go-to 1-2 punch not performing like they should be, secondary needs to step up. And this Saturday, they have to step up.
Tony, I think you might be forgetting someone too, as far as secondary scoring. Do you know who I'm thinking of? Clay Scanlon.
Clay Scanlon will be in the lineup, yes. And I know he's a hustler, and he will try, and he'd be like the next Kyle Buchanan with his speed and getting to loose balls and creating madness. And I think, you know what? He could have a good game this game, and that could be like a curveball to the Seals because they don't play against him yet.
And there's also not a lot of film on him. No one really knows about him. So
nobody really does. So
2
That's
water
going to be
bucks
interesting to
is
see.
better than
I
one.
would love to see him have 2-3 goals this game.
Be huge.
Two water bucks in your lineup is much better than one. I'll tell you that.
That's true.
And then one of them's a physical threat too. One of them can lay the body check behind the net if he has to pick up the loose ball.
Remember the game remember our home opener against Rochester? How great Clay was. I think it was in the third quarter. He had like 3 guys, maybe about a penalty kill or something, but he had like 2 or 3 guys on him.
Just shaking them off.
Yep. He's still shaking them off, still holding in his own, trying to maintain that possession. No, he's good.
Then he laid out Connor Fields behind the net. Do you remember that when Fields had the ball?
That was a nice
hit him behind the net and got the ball back. That was pretty sweet. But Clay Scanlon, it could be a little bit of a tough start for him. I know he's missed the last couple games and he's trying to get back into the groove, but he's been practicing all week because Spanger was placed on the long-term IR. When was it? Sunday night, maybe Monday morning. So Clay Scanlon's been practicing with the guys. He's been doing full team reps. I think it should come right back to him. And it's usually these types of games where the Bandits go on the West Coast. They usually win a lot on the West Coast. I mean, they win a lot in general over the past few years, but they've been holding it down on the West Coast. Some of those are ugly wins, but hey, the only thing that matters is a W in the win-loss column, I guess. I think the last time they played in San Diego, they won 7-6 in overtime, courtesy of the captain, Steve Priolo, running coast to coast down the floor. Yeah, 2 years ago. And we talked about this a little bit before on the last episode, but the first time the Bandits played San Diego in San Diego, they beat Connor Fields and Kyle Buchanan 18-9, 18-8, whatever the score was. It was an absolute blowout of epic proportions. This is a building the Bandits are undefeated in. They play fairly well here. I just need this offense to be clicking again. I mean, we talked about players to watch, and Tony brought up Chase Fraser and Kyle Buchanan, the secondary guys. They need to show up, but 22, where were you last week or Saturday? 92. We'd like to see more of your usual style. You got to have everybody click at the same time. Now, I think Dane had a better weekend last weekend than Josh did.
Yes, 100%.
Everybody's going to go through the games where they play well or they play like shit. I think Josh Byrne played Saturday was one of those games where it was just kind of like WTF. Like, this isn't really my night. He'll bounce back. I think count him in for 3 or 4 goals tomorrow night. And Josh Byrne will go back to his usual ways. But I don't know, guys. I mean, if the Bandits don't get off to the back-to-back slow starts, we could have been looking at back-to-back blowouts of these two teams, the way that they rallied in the second half. If they had that same pace in the first half against both teams last weekend in Toronto and San Diego, we would have been looking at 2 very, very, very convincing wins. So in the long and the short of it, you just can't get off to a slow start.
No.
Because you see how this team played for 45 minutes after the fact. They were on pace to be absolutely crushing them. So the number one key to the game for me is faster starts. If you go down 1-0, doesn't matter. 2-0 even. But don't fall into that trap where it turns into 3-0 and then it snowballs into 4-5, 6-0. Because you know how much energy you're exerting to get multiple shots off, race to, like, when I mean race, sprint to every single loose ball. You're burning energy. You're running out of gas. You're prone to injury. Ask Matt Spanger. When you're exerting that much energy, you're proning yourself to injury. So you don't want to put yourself in that position. Ride yourself in a comfortable position all the way up to about halftime. Like, if you want to take maybe a 2 or 3 goal lead into halftime, that's fine. Then you can build on that in the second half. We know the Bandits are dominantly a second and fourth quarter team as far as best quarters of the season. Just play your game. Whatever you were doing against Philly, whatever you were doing against Rochester in both games, whatever you're doing against Ottawa even, you guys know what to do. Just keep it going.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Just to piggyback off of you, play your game. I remember last week in overtime, I didn't see as much passing as I would have preferred in overtime, because you got a lot of open guys on the field. Yeah, maybe even strength, but you got a lot of options on the offensive side of the ball to really do a good job of putting the ball in the net. I want to see a share the wealth kind of offense for tomorrow night's game against San Diego, because look at all the guys that we have healthy. We have our entire offense healthy plus Clay Scanlon. So we got a lot of guys that we could really that could all got a lot of guys that could contribute big time on the score sheet tomorrow. So let's have everybody work together. And as you guys mentioned earlier, get that secondary score rolling. A lot of the pressure is going to be taken off of our centerpieces. So we do a good job of passing, make the right passes, complete these passes, take good shots. Don't make any lazy shots. Good shots, good passes, spread it around. Spread the ball around your entire offense. I think we should see a big game from our entire offense tomorrow if they take good shots, good passes, and just really spread it out. There's multiple options to choose from. Might as well use them all.
Well, yeah, watching them in overtime last week, I'm like, what is this team? Like, are these just randoms wearing Bandits jerseys? Like, they don't look like the Bandits at all. Like, who are you and what have you done with the team that I love? And everything, like, even when the shot clock was at like 17, they were just forcing shots from the restraining line. I'm like, what are we doing? Like that,
Yeah.
it did not look like the Bandits. And I feel like they were due for a WTF type of game. That was kind of it. And should it be scary to the rest of the league? Good for us as Bandit fans to say the one WTF game that came this year was a game that they were down 4-0 and still forced overtime and still only lost by 1. I mean,
Right.
that you can always look at it like that, but if you start off and if you score 2 goals in the first quarter, 2, not 0, but 2, you win the game. Like that's what it comes down to. When I look at it in hindsight like that, it's not anything like the referees are calling or San Diego. Their coaching staff can teach their team to dive whenever somebody runs past them. That's what we were seeing last Saturday. But we're not really jumping on that train where we're blaming, this should have been called, whatever. No, if you scored 2 in the first, you're not even going to overtime. You're winning the game. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So that's what it really comes down to. Better starts. And we know once the Bandits get a lead, they hold on to the lead. Like, sure, they make the third quarter interesting sometimes. Like, you'll see a retaliator penalty maybe get called in the third or something. Like, we saw the Philadelphia Wings go on a 6-0 run in the third quarter. We saw the Albany Firewolves start to crawl back a couple weeks ago at home. And then Rochester started to crawl back early in the third quarter in the home opener. But the Bandits, the number one thing about them, especially at home, is once they get a sizable lead, they don't blow it. Right. So, and what's step one to getting a sizable lead? Get off to a hot start, get off to a fast start. That's what you guys need to do. And I know that looking on Facebook at some of the posts, I know that Bandit fans are going to be there in San Diego. So it should feel like another home game. You're undefeated in that building. You got the fan base behind you. It feels like a Bandit victory coming up tomorrow night. I don't know. I just had this overwhelming feeling of revenge, vengeance. Oh, that was cute when you beat us in our house. Now we're going to come and beat you in yours type of deal. So that's just kind of how I'm feeling.
Well, the reason why you feel that way is because the Bandits are pissed off. They got their first loss of the season. They didn't. Obviously, you want to run the table the entire season. But not only did they get their first loss of the season, it was their first loss in 16 games. So you know that they're definitely feeling a little bit pissed off about that. So, yeah, I definitely expect some redemption tomorrow. I'm in the same boat as you. I got a good feeling it's going to be a big win tomorrow night for sure. What do you think,
Yeah,
Tony?
especially with the way how we're going to be going. We got to make sure, I forgot to mention this before, and you guys already probably squeaked it in on your keys to the victory, but we got to make sure we hit the net. Got to make sure the shots, even if they're on the goaltender itself, make him realize, regardless of the fact that he's trying to be pretty in the shots in the top corner or the bottom low corner by his feet, got to make sure you hit the net. That's the only main key, Tony? Also as well, because that's another thing that we were just playing sloppy. I think in the third quarter and the fourth, just the beginning of the
OT.
fourth.
OT was rough
and OT especially. Like, just make sure you're hitting the goalie. That's all I can say. Don't do these missed opportunities where you miss a shot, they collect and come right back down to our side.
Oh, and
you want to make sure that to hit the goalie.
And stay on your feet too. Stop diving, you bunch of prima donnas.
Yes, please.
Seriously,
it's not
stay on your
work.
feet. No, I mean when a Wrigley area acted like he got steamrolled by Nanacoke in overtime. I'm like, dude, what are we
Yes.
doing? Like, seriously? Like, come on. What are we trying to do here? But yeah, Jake, what were you going to say?
I was gonna say I think
Sorry,
Irregularities
bud.
is definitely no. You're good. Irregularities is a decent sized goalie. He's a big goalie. So what do we got to do? We have so many options on our offense. So might as well get Irregulary moving. Make him have happy feet in the crease. That's how you beat guys like Nick Rose, right? That's how you beat most of the goalies in
Nick
this.
Rose
in
just
this
shoot
league.
anything low. Just shoot
Right.
anything low in his direction. He
But
goes in.
if you get Irregulary having happy feet in the crease, shoot low or get him moving around, should be a solid night for the offense. I don't see why it shouldn't be for sure.
You guys remember Zach Higgins, goaltender
Yep.
for the Ottawa Black Bears?
Former Bandit.
The Bandits kept him moving, and they dropped 18 friggin' goals on him earlier in the season.
Yes.
It's the same thing with this guy. I mean, he's a little bit taller. So I don't know if he's as fast dashing in between the pipes as Zach Higgins is, but if you keep him moving, it's going to be hard for him regardless. It's not like Nick Rose where you can just take a bounce shot from the restraining line, or Doug Jamieson where you could take a bounce shot from the restraining line and maybe it goes right over his pad or it goes in the 5-hole. I think he's better at those low shots. If you get him moving, he's good. Or you guys are going to be fine. You're going to find the back of the net. He's going to be questioning every shot, and it's going to be the Bandits' game for them to win. And that's what it really comes down to.
Yes, it is.
So let's just keep this winning train going. Let's shut a lot of people up, because I know a lot of people want to see this team fall apart. And I mean, hey, they've been at the top of the mountain for 2 years now. Do you blame them? Probably not. And San Diego, like I said before, they beat the Bandits once this year. I bet you that they're chomping at the bit to play these guys again. They're like, oh, we beat these guys once? I guarantee you we can beat them again. That's pretty much their mindset. And Westberg, you don't think that dude wants to face against the Bandits again? A team that he absolutely torches? So, yeah. Do you guys have any opinion on what? Well, we already kind of went over like the key players to watch for San Diego, but what is the game plan going to be? What is your opinion on how this team is going to cover Westberg going into
Jake, you
tomorrow night's
first.
game?
Well, your defense needs to step up. I don't care that Spanger's out. I don't care that Robinson's out. Injuries are a part of the game. You still have 3 very good defenders in Priolo, your captain, Paul Dawson, and Justin Martin. But you also have a couple good young guns in Cam Wires, and you also have Zach Belter. But it's not just Westberg that the Bandits have to cover. You have guys like Hellier and you have Zach Courier, but you also got a couple really good players that we forgot to mention earlier, in not only Ben McIntosh, but Carolina Chaos player Kyle Jackson, very good lefty as well. Yep. They have a plethora of offensive talent,
and not Austin Stotts, by the way. Just saying, we can already say that he's out of the lineup for San Diego for all the right reasons.
Yeah, he'll be out of their lineup for quite a bit of time, probably forever. But like I was saying, they have so many weapons on an offense, literally just like we do. But now's the time where you need to have a sound defensive game. You need to have you need to go into this game. You already know that Matt Vince and the defense, after pregame and after every goal that's given up, they talk about it and they go about their plan to execute, going forward. They go about their plan to execute the rest of the game going forward. So I want constant communication from the defense and Matt Vince. I want all these guys to be on the same page, because I'm not worried about our offense. I'm really not. I think the offense is going to have a nice rebound game next week due to all the options that we have. But I need this defense and Matt Vince to be on the same page the entire night. You do that, that's a solid game plan. Should be a good recipe for success.
Yeah, not for Matt Vince to stop any of the shots, but also for the defensive side, like you were mentioning, if they can get their bodies in front of the ball, or in fact steal the shot away from Matt Vince making that save, I think it would be much easier for every one of them to set the play and set the tone to get it back to the offense and let them do their thing. But otherwise than that, offense, play your game. You have not disappointed us at all season. You've kept it over 13 per game. Other than that, defense, that's where it's got to start to mend and get back to track. But other than that, I think we'll be fine.
And do the Bandits in the modern era, do they really? I mean, we saw a couple times last year, but back-to-back games, losing back-to-back games, it feels like it's very, very rare when that happens. The Bandits usually do a good job with rebounding after a bad loss, after a tough loss. I don't want to call last week a bad loss. It was more so tough to watch. Yeah, that was a tough one to watch. So when it goes to overtime, that's why I'm like, oh my God, like when you go to overtime in hockey, it's like, all right, 3-on-3, somebody might score or whatever. Then we can go to a shootout. In the NLL, you could end overtime in 7 seconds and the game is over. Or it could be one of those games like where your heart's in your throat the whole time and 7 minutes of overtime goes by and then finally a goal goes in. Those are always a bit of a wild card. And when you lose in overtime, I always go back. Like when the Bandits lose in overtime, I'm always thinking to myself, like, what could they have done? Maybe the first half, like maybe if this play went differently,
Right.
or if this one, if Dane didn't hit a post here, or if Chase Fraser, like last week, didn't have the edge of his big toe step into the crease. I mean, we would have been talking about an 8-0 team. I always do that, so I hate it when it goes to overtime. Don't get me wrong. It's great when the Bandits win in OT. Those are some of the best victories to celebrate, especially at the KeyBank Center. But, yeah, those are always a wild card type of game. But the point is, the Bandits usually do a really good job at bouncing back after a tough loss. And prime example, the 2023 finals, where they let their emotions, their actions, their penalties get the best of them in game 2. They came back, and boy, did they come back in game 3 that year. 13-4, a 9-goal win to snap a 15-year championship drought. And Matt Vince holds them to 4 goals. Last year was tough. I mean, Matt Vince was injured throughout a lot of the season.
We didn't have a face-off guy.
Didn't have a face-off guy. Right. You just had a sour taste in your mouth for the entire first half of the year. Last year was weird. Yeah, and don't get me wrong. Like, I'm so happy this team went back-to-back, but I was kind of looking at San Diego, Toronto. I'm like, these teams look much better than the Bandits do this year. But it's about your performances in the clutch. And did the Bandits clutch up at the end of last year? How do you bounce back after a bad loss? Flushing it and moving on. This team does that better than any other team in the National Lacrosse League. Because you look at what the Bandits did to Philadelphia. Remember when they were second place in the league? Hold on, let me check. Let me just check the standings real quick. So since that game, the Philadelphia Wings are in 10th. The Bandits sent them on a downward spiral.
Oh my God, yeah, they are.
After that game.
Yeah,
Philadelphia, that's the difference between the Bandits and the Wings. The Bandits bounce back after a bad loss. The Wings kind of go into a downward, they kind of spin around in that toilet bowl, and that's where their season's kind of headed right now. So, best team at bouncing back after a bad loss is the Bandits. They got the Bandits Mafia traveling from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast. They've never lost in this building. Bandits-After-Dark, Party at 290 Slide, by the way. Whoever wants to pop out to that in Tonawanda. With Tony Fela and all them other guys over there. I feel a victory in my blood. Flowing through the veins. I feel a Bandits victory coming up.
I think there's going to be a victory tomorrow. I feel like I know it.
I feel like that's a perfect segue, though, to get into our – hold on, if I could find
our score predictions. Is that what we're doing?
Our world-famous score predictions. And Tony writes these down. God bless him.
I got it right here. I already wrote mine down.
God bless Tony, because every time we're so inaccurate with these, he writes them down and keeps the stats, keeps the receipts.
Oh, you keep the receipts, man.
I don't think on this show, we've been doing this show since the 2022 seasons. This is season 4. I don't think we've had one score prediction. We've had some couple close ones. I remember last year, Tony predicted an overtime victory. I think it was against the Rush. But he predicted, I think, like 14-13, and the score was 15-14. That was probably the closest we ever got to getting our predictions right. So I want to make sure, I want to think of this thoroughly, because I'm done with embarrassing myself after 4 years of this.
Your prediction.
I've been keeping track like I always do, because that's my guy.
He's got all the receipts.
Taking down the stats.
Man,
whatever
he could go back.
I just write it down and be like, "Oh, I remember now."
Tony can go back on the NLL website and be like, oh, see, I got this notebook laying around. Let's see how inaccurate Trev was this week. Oh, he predicted a 13-7 win against Vancouver. Oh, nope, they lost 11-10. Like, we can always go back and look at that.
Your prediction against The Rock wasn't too far off last week. You said
No.
14-10, and it was
I know.
13-12. I thought we were going to get an empty net goal, and you were going to be right.
They had the
Oh,
goalie
boy.
pulled. They had the goalie pulled, and then Toronto made it 13-11.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, my God. Like, yeah, that was close. So I got to think about this. 4 years, I'm tired of being wrong. I got to get one of these right, one of these weeks. And I feel like this week is the week. I think the Bandits go into San Diego and win 13-11.
Don't say it.
Okay. Jake, what do you think, bud?
I'm going with 13 as well, but I think we're going to hold the San Diego. I think the defense is going to step up, and so is Matt Vince. We're going to hold the San Diego Steelers to single digits tomorrow night. I'm going to go with 13-8.
13-8's a convincing game. Hell yeah. Tony, I don't want to be wrong,
totally
but
different from you guys because I think it's going to be an epically close game like it was last Saturday. So
don't say overtime, Tony.
God, I hate this.
I can't do
taking on overtime.
Tony, I can't do overtime. If we're talking about OT, we're talking about going into the next day. We're probably talking past midnight, 12:30. No one has time for that.
I know, but I got a gut feeling it may happen. And I hate being right, but I'm not going to go overtime. It's going to be Bandits 14, Seals 12.
14-12. Okay, I like that a lot. So 13.
Ask how many? Let's just get a big win tomorrow night.
And an easy
I think
4.
we get that over that 13 hump. We get 14, and then that'll be enough.
4 goals from Josh Byrne. I got that on the stat line too. So
I'll take that.
I'll take 4 from Byrne. I think Dane throws up a silent 10. Maybe 2 goals, 8 assists, something like that. Sounds like Dane Smith.
That'll be about right.
Yep.
1 or 2 goals from Scanlon tomorrow. That'd be sick.
You know what I would love? I'd love a sock trick from Tehoka Nanticoke tomorrow night.
I would be impressed if he did.
Has Tehoka ever scored a sock trick? Does anyone
No, he
know
has
that?
not.
He scored
I don't think
in his rookie season. He scored 4 goals.
He
in
had
a game.
5 in one game.
5. Yeah.
I remember that.
Yep. I think his first game he ever played, he scored a hat trick against Calgary in his debut.
We were at that game.
Yep. Okay. Well, boys, Bandits and Seals in the 619. We can say Booyaka, home of Rey Mysterio, right? And hopefully the Bandits can get them on the ropes, and we can give them the nice 619 and be like, oh yeah, you beat us in our house. That was cute. Now we can beat you in your house and give it a little 1-for-1 retaliator there. 13-11 for me. Jake's got 13-8. I'd rather have that score and have a comfortable lead sitting at the bar. And then Tony, 14-12. Man, dude, oh God, I don't know if I could handle another over the shoulder Vince giving up 12 gold night. Oh my God, dude.
I hate to say it, but it seems to me like I when I predict this stuff, it's gonna happen, and
it smells like one of those games, Tony, and it's not disregarding Jake's score prediction. This has trap game written all over it. It smells like a trap game is cooking.
I don't know. I'm confident. I don't know. Someone's telling me it's going to be convincing tomorrow.
I would prefer to go with what you're saying, Jake, but I don't know.
Convincing, but it's spelled V-I-N-C. Convincing.
Yes, convincing. Yeah.
Can we
way to twist my point around?
Can we put some goals on the board in the first quarter? Can Matt Vince, maybe if there's 10 seconds to go, get your shoulder up and make the save? Come on, that's what we need.
You know what, Trev? I think the big reason is that they started off slow against Toronto. They ended up winning, but they got to a slow start. Then they got to a slow start again against San Diego, but this time they lost. So I think that they're going to be a lot more rested for sure. That's a given. And I think they're going to be a lot more ready to go. Like both teams have already seen each other last week, but I think the Bandits now know what to expect. I think they're not going to be too thrilled that they lost their first game of the season, not only to San Diego, but they lost it at home. 16 games
dude, I hate losing at home. Like more than anything else, bro.
They lose their first game in a long time at home. So I think they really want to get their revenge tomorrow night. That's why I think that they're going to come out swinging. I think it's going to be a really good win tomorrow.
And I also forgot to even mention Taylor Dooley going into game 2.
Yep.
What are we thinking? What are we expecting out of Taylor? He looked great his first game.
Don't change. He was fine.
Don't change.
Play your game. Play how you did last week. And that's another key player we can watch.
I think he's pissed off too because his first game getting called up to the Bandits is a loss. When you look at Clay Scanlon's first game getting called up, it's an 18-7 ass kicking against Ottawa. He's probably like,
That's right.
Why couldn't I get that? Taylor Dooley's going to be really
and
mad going into this game. And did anyone mention, Jake, real quick before I pan over to you for the Taylor Dooley thing, did anyone mention Chris Kluche?
I think we did. Yeah, I think Tony
We
did
did say his name, but it's got to be like the weight off his shoulder. I said for the star three, for Dane Smith, Josh Byrne, and Chris Kluche to be having all the weight and the pressure on them to score all the goals. It's time for the secondary to step up. That's when I said
That
it.
dude is overdue for a 4-goal night too. Just putting that out there.
Yeah, he is.
I miss seeing the sidearm goals, man. Like, yeah.
Keep doing the Bomberry shots. That's how it was.
Roger Weiss shots, the sidearm to the top corner. Yeah.
Yeah, and also if you're Taylor Dooley, you got a few good guys to learn from. You got Priola's got your back, Dawson's got your back, Justin Martin's got your back.
Oh, I just had a thought.
What's up?
You know, we're looking for another defender.
Yep.
Do they call Adam Bomberry back?
Dude,
I never thought of that until I said his name, Bomberry. I'm like,
that's right.
That would be key if we can get him back for at least another half of the season.
You know that he's rested.
Hurt, right? He's just retired,
He's well rested. I'm not surprised they didn't call him yet.
He got hurt in game 2 against Albany last year. He's fine. He's ready to go.
I think that would be smart to bring him back on the roster.
Get him on the phone. Why not?
Get him on the phone.
Yep, I'm down.
Get Adam Bomberry back.
He's a phone call away.
There's our answer to last week's podcast. Bring back Adam Bomberry.
That's it. See?
Dude, it
I just thought of that. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, wait a minute. I forgot about Adam Bomberry.
And it doesn't sound unusual for a guy like Steve Dietrich to be like, hey, remember when we were cyberbullying him online, talking about Connor Farrell, get him. We were bothering the hell out of him. And then the notification comes across our screen 24 hours later. Connor Farrell, welcome to the Bandits. We're like, wow. Like,
I was on the Connor Farrell.
No hesitation whatsoever.
For 2 months.
Maybe if we... I don't think Steve Dietrich has Twitter, does he? I was going to say, maybe if we all mass tag him with just pictures of Adam Bomberry, he'll get it done.
That would be sweet.
He was a big part of the team last year, too. No one
he
really talks about
He was like a tough grit.
He was a huge part of the team last year, and no one really talks about him. Like,
no, he's one of the unsung heroes of the defense.
Those are some of the blue collar guys that get the most respect from me. Like, you go back and you look at like the 2008 team, no one really talks about Clay Hill. No one really talks about Kyle Laverty. Those guys were the ones that were taking an ass kicking every single night to get them to where they were.
Yeah.
And opening stuff up for guys like Stainhouse and Tavares and Dostie and Weiss. Those guys really didn't get a lot of credit for what they did. But Adam Bomberry is the same exact way. Hey, maybe we did answer our question. Maybe we did. Somebody in the YouTube comments actually suggested that too. Because I'm looking through the channel content right now.
Smart.
It was
give him a call.
Seriously, unless he's made up his mind and he's like, listen, guys, my time is done. Don Martin 5385 says, as Scanlon should, he's earned it. He's talking about how Clay Scanlon got called up to the active roster. Then he said they could bring back Bomberry too.
Yeah, that would be good. That would bring that toughness back for sure.
Hell yeah.
Don, I hope you are Steve Dietrich's burner account. And he's watching all of our stuff. That would be so cool.
That would be very ideal.
So, Bandits got the Seals coming up. And one more thing, I did see Casey Powell tweet out something yesterday.
Oh, I saw that same tweet.
Something out of the blue.
Yeah.
Honoring Mark Stainhouse? Is he foreshadowing something happening in Banditland? Why all of a sudden on a random freaking Thursday night is he tweeting out honorary tweets about Mark Stainhouse?
I'm going to pull up the tweet right now.
I thought that was interesting, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, are you talking to Stainhouse? Does Stainhouse have any... Is he been talking to the Bandits at all? Like, that was just so out of the blue. Everything...
Yeah, Casey said, who is / was an amazing lacrosse player that a lot of players may not know. I'll go first. Mark Stainhouse. Dude was an all-around badass and didn't start playing lax until he was 17. Unreal player and competitor. So it could be something. It very well could be nothing. I didn't really get like any of those. I didn't really get like a what's going on here vibes with that tweet. But I mean, still, it's awesome that he gets a shout out. But I mean, Stainhouse's number 9 is long overdue up in the Raptors at KeyBank. That's for sure.
Yeah, if you go through Casey Powell's Twitter catalog, it's all Syracuse stuff. So I thought it was kind of weird that on a random Thursday night he's tweeting out about a former Bandit, a Bandit legend whose number should be in the rafters. I'm just putting that out there. I'm just putting that out there for conversation. I'm not speculating anything. I don't have any sources or rumors or anything. I'm just putting that out there because, I mean, for real, he needs to be up there next to Johnny. Johnny can sit there up in the rafters next to one of the Kilgores, but Stainhouse has to be next to Johnny because, I mean, that was the connection that was so good. That brought the fans back into the seats of the HSBC Arena. If you guys want to look into that, that would be sweet too. Casey Powell was a Bandit in 2000. A lot of people forget about that too. Very, very briefly before getting moved somewhere else.
Yeah, he didn't play a single game with the Bandits, but he was on the roster.
His brother Ryan Powell was a huge contributor to the early 2000s Bandits team. He was really good too. But yeah, I got 13-11. God hope the Bandits. Oh man, another game that's gonna put me through the freaking ringer if it's a 2-goal game again. Tony's got 14-12. It's the same deal with him. I really hope it's Jake's score prediction 13-8. I'd love a 5-goal victory.
I'm leaning to Jake. I'm really praying for that. I am.
I'm gonna manifest it.
And I hate saying this on the show right now, but Jake and I have we had a 500 record at 290 Slide watching the Bandits. They don't win. They don't win very often when we're there.
The last time we were there, we won against Colorado.
And we were supposed to go to the Philly game too, but something went down where they scored 18. So
yeah.
But I mean, we were there for the Panther City game. We were there for the Vancouver game.
Yeah, the first 2 games it was Vancouver and Panther City.
Yeah, those. Okay, so yeah, and that was also 2024. This is a brand new leaf. We turned over a new leaf. 2025. They're a much better team right now than they were 8 games into last season. So, guys, we got to end this with 3 words. If I could find this thing, here we go. Boom.
Well,
boom,
we got to also shoot out to our sponsors too. You know.
Oh my God! Yeah, pardon me. Holy shit. Yeah, what the? I'm jumping
jumping the gun already.
What the heck am I doing, bro?
Sponsors, man. Holy hell!
Wow, he wants to get off the air real quick.
Here's what I gotta say to that. Here's what I gotta say to that. I gotta say to that.
All right,
what the hell am I doing, bro? Score
I
predictions?
don't know. We already did that.
Yeah, there we go. Everything is so messed up in here. My whole organization is gone.
All right. Well, Banditland Boulevard is brought to you in part by Mitchell's Tavern, located at 734 Sheridan Drive up in Tonawanda, New York. Guys, if you haven't checked out this place, believe me when I say this, go there. It's got great, amazing food, amazing service. They'll treat you like family. Go out there and say Banditland Boulevard, mention you guys, and we want to give it a try. So go check that out. Also, we'd like to thank Herney's Journeys as well. If you guys want to book your next cruise or your next traveling,
just like Tony did, just like
I did, go out and contact Suzanne Pike at Herney'sJourneys.com. Let her book your next big adventure. Also, we'd like to thank those who have been watching us live on YouTube. Please give us that like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell every time we talk about Buffalo Bandits lacrosse live on YouTube. And also for those who listen in on every device known to man, on your tablet, your phone, your radio, on Spotify, give us that 5-star rating, guys. We would love to hear your feedback every single time we're on the air and talk about nothing but the best lacrosse team in the land, and that is the Buffalo Bandits.
Best lacrosse team of all time. Of all time. 100%. And there's that famous chant that they say at the KeyBank Center and everywhere else where the Bandits Mafia invades every other team's arena. It's just 3 words. And we usually use this to end out the show sometimes. Actually, always. Every single time. So what are those 3 words?
Here we go.
Jake's got the hat over his eyes. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Let's go, Bandits. Let's go, Bandits. Let's go. Don't get them this week, boys. Let's go.
See that and that and that and that. Those colors don't rhyme. Let's go, baby. Let's go.